Sergey Mikhaylovich Brin is a Russian-born American computer scientist and internet entrepreneur who, together with Larry Page, co-founded Google, one of the world's most profitable internet companies. According to Hurun Global Rich List 2015, he is jointly one of 3 people listed as 18th richest in the world, with a net worth of $37.5 billion. Brin immigrated to the United States with his family from the Soviet Union at the age of 6. He earned his bachelor's degree at the University of Maryland, following in his father's and grandfather's footsteps by studying mathematics, as well as computer science. After graduation, he moved to Stanford University to acquire a PhD in computer science. There he met Page, with whom he later became friends. They crammed their dormitory room with inexpensive computers and applied Brin's data mining system to build a web search engine. The program became popular at Stanford and they suspended their PhD studies to start up Google in a rented garage. The Economist referred to Brin as an Enlightenment man, and as someone who believes that knowledge is always good, and certainly always better than ignorance, a philosophy that is summed up by Google's mission statement: organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, and unofficial motto, don't be evil. Early life and education. Brin was born in Moscow in the Soviet Union, to Russian Jewish parents, Yevgenia and Mikhail Brin, both graduates of Moscow State University. His father is a mathematics professor at the University of Maryland, and his mother a researcher at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. In 1979, when Brin was 6 years old, his family felt compelled to emigrate to the United States. In an interview with Mark Malseed, co-author of the Google story, Sergey's father explains how he was forced to abandon his dream of becoming an astronomer even before he reached college. Michael Brin claims Communist Party heads barred Jews from upper professional ranks by denying them entry to universities, and that Jews were excluded from the physics departments in particular. Michael Brin therefore changed his major to mathematics, where he received nearly straight A's. He said, "Nobody would even consider me for graduate school because I was Jewish." According to Brin, at Moscow State University, Jews were required to take their entrance exams in different rooms from non-Jewish applicants, and they were marked on a harsher scale. The Brin family lived in a 3-room apartment in central Moscow, which they also shared with Sergey's paternal grandmother. Brin told Malseed, "I've known for a long time that my father wasn't able to pursue the career he wanted." But Brin only picked up the details years later after they had settled in the United States. In 1977, after his father returned from a mathematics conference in Warsaw, Poland, Michael Brin announced that it was time for the family to emigrate. "We cannot stay here anymore," he told his wife and mother. At the conference, he was able to mingle freely with colleagues from the United States, France, England and Germany, and discovered that his intellectual brethren in the West were not monsters. He added, "I was the only one in the family who decided it was really important to leave." Sergey's mother was less willing to leave their home in Moscow, where they had spent their entire lives. Malseed writes, "For Genia, the decision ultimately came down to Sergey. While her husband admits he was thinking as much about his own future as his son's, for her, it was 80-20 about Sergey." They formally applied for their exit visa in September 1978, and as a result his father was promptly fired. For related reasons, his mother also had to leave her job. For the next 8 months, without any steady income, they were forced to take on temporary jobs as they waited, afraid their request would be denied, as it was for many refuseniks. During this time his parents shared responsibility for looking after him, and his father taught himself computer programming. In May 1979, they were granted their official exit visas and were allowed to leave the country. At an interview in October 2000, Brin said, "I know the hard times that my parents went through there, and I'm very thankful that I was brought to the States in the summer of 1990. A few weeks before his 17th birthday, his father led a group of high school math students, including Sergey, on a 2-week exchange program to the Soviet Union. His roommate on the trip was future CMU computer science professor John Stamper. As Brin recalls, the trip awakened his childhood fear of authority, and he remembered that his first impulse on confronting Soviet oppression had been to throw pebbles at a police car, Malsi Dads. On the second day of the trip, while the group toured a sanatorium in the countryside near Moscow, Brin took his father aside, looked him in the eye and said, "Thank you for taking us all out of Russia." Brin attended elementary school at Paint Branch Montessori School in Adelphi, Maryland, but he received further education at home. His father, a professor in the Department of Mathematics at the University of Maryland, encouraged him to learn mathematics, and his family helped him retain his Russian language skills. He attended Eleanor Roosevelt High School in Greenbelt, Maryland. In September 1990, Brin enrolled in the University of Maryland to study computer science and mathematics, where he received his Bachelor of Science in May 1993 with honors. Brin began his graduate study in computer science at Stanford University on a graduate fellowship from the National Science Foundation. In 1993, he interned at Wolfram Research, who were the developers of Mathematica. As of 2008, he is on leave from his PhD studies at Stanford. Search engine development. During an orientation for new students at Stanford, he met Larry Page. They seemed to disagree on most subjects, but after spending time together, they became intellectual soulmates and close friends. Brin's focus was on developing data mining systems, while Page's was in extending the concept of inferring the importance of a research paper from its citations in other papers. Together, the pair authored a paper titled "The Anatomy of a Large-Scale Hypertextual Web Search Engine," to convert the backlink data gathered by Backrub's web crawler into a measure of importance for a given web page. Brin and Page developed the PageRank algorithm, and realized that it could be used to build a search engine far superior to existing ones. The new algorithm relied on a new kind of technology that analyzed the relevance of the backlinks that connected one web page to another. Combining their ideas, the pair began utilizing Page's dormitory room as a machine laboratory, and extracted spare parts from inexpensive computers to create a device that they used to connect the nascent search engine with Stanford's broadband campus network. After filling Page's room with equipment, they then converted Brin's dorm room into an office and programming center, where they tested their new search engine designs on the web. The rapid growth of their project caused Stanford's computing infrastructure to experience problems. Page and Brin used the former's basic HTML programming skills to set up a simple search page for users, as they did not have a web page developer to create anything visually elaborate. They also began using any computer part they could find to assemble the necessary computing power to handle searches by multiple users. As their search engine grew in popularity among Stanford users, it required additional servers to process the queries. In August 1996, the initial version of Google, still on the Stanford University website, was made available to Internet users. By early 1997, the Backrub page described the state as follows: some rough statistics, total indexable HTML URLs, 75.2306 million, total content downloaded, 207.022 gigabytes. Backrub is written in Java and Python and runs on several Sun Ultras and Intel Pentiums running Linux. The primary database is kept on a Sun Ultra Series 2 with 28 gigabytes of disk. Scott Hassan and Alan Sterenberg have provided a great deal of very talented implementation help. Sergey Brin has also been very involved and deserves many thanks. Larry Page pagex.stanford.edu Backrub already exhibited the rudimentary functions and characteristics of a search engine. A query input was entered and it provided a list of backlinks ranked by importance. Page recalled, "We realized that we had a querying tool. It gave you a good overall ranking of pages in ordering of follow-up pages." Page said that in mid-1998 they finally realized the further potential of their project. "Pretty soon, we had 10,000 searches a day, and we figured, maybe this is really real." Some compared Page and Brin's vision to the impact of Johannes Gutenberg, the inventor of modern printing. In 1440, Johannes Gutenberg introduced Europe to the mechanical printing press, printing Bibles for mass consumption. The technology allowed for books and manuscripts, originally replicated by hand, to be printed at a much faster rate, thus spreading knowledge and helping to usher in the European Renaissance. Google has done a similar job. The comparison was also noted by the authors of the Google story. Not since Gutenberg has any new invention empowered individuals and transformed access to information as profoundly as Google. Also, not long after the two cooked up their new engine for web searches, they began thinking about information that was at the time beyond the web, such as digitizing books and expanding health information. Other interests. Brin is working on other, more personal projects that reach beyond Google. For example, he and Page are trying to help solve the world's energy and climate problems at Google's philanthropic arm, Google.org, which invests in the alternative energy industry to find wider sources of renewable energy. The company acknowledges that its founders want to solve really big problems using technology. In October 2010, for example, they invested in a major offshore wind power development to assist the East Coast power grid, which will eventually become one of about a dozen offshore wind farms that are proposed for the region. A week earlier they introduced a car that, with artificial intelligence, can drive itself using video cameras and radar sensors. In the future, drivers of cars with similar sensors would have fewer accidents. These safer vehicles could therefore be built lighter and require less fuel consumption. They are trying to get companies to create innovative solutions to increasing the world's energy supply. He is an investor in Tesla Motors, which has developed the Tesla Roadster, a 244-mile range battery electric vehicle, as well as the Tesla Model S, a 265-mile range battery electric vehicle. In 2004, he and Page were named Persons of the Week by ABC World News Tonight. In January 2005 he was nominated to be one of the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders. In June 2008, Brin invested $4.5 million in Space Adventures, the Virginia-based space tourism company. His investment will serve as a deposit for a reservation on one of Space Adventures' proposed flights in 2011. Space Adventures, the only company that sends tourists to space, has sent 5 of them so far. Brin and Page jointly owned a customized Boeing 767-200 and a Dornier Alpha jet, and pay $1.3 million a year to house them in 2 Gulfstream 5 jets owned by Google executives at Moffett Federal Airfield. The aircraft have had scientific equipment installed by NASA to allow experimental data to be collected in flight. In 2012, Brin has been involved with the Project Glass program and has demoed eyeglass prototypes. Project Glass is a research and development program by Google to develop an augmented reality head-mounted display. The intended purpose of Project Glass products would be the hands-free displaying of information currently available to most smartphone users, and allowing for interaction with the Internet via natural language voice commands. Brin was also involved in the Google driverless car project. In September 2012, at the signing of the California driverless vehicle bill, Brin predicted that within 5 years, robotic cars will be available to the general public. Brin is a supporter of lab-grown meat and kite energy systems. The Economist magazine describes Brin's approach to life, like Page's, as based on a vision summed up by Google's motto of making all the world's information universally accessible and useful. Censorship of Google in China. Remembering his youth and his family's reasons for leaving the Soviet Union, he agonized over Google's decision to appease the communist government of China by allowing it to censor search engine results. But he decided that the Chinese would still be better off than without having Google available. On January 12, 2010, Google reported a large cyber attack on its computers and corporate infrastructure that began a month earlier, which included accessing 2 Gmail accounts and the theft of Google's intellectual property. After the attack was determined to have originated in China, the company stated that it would no longer agree to censor its search engine in China and may exit the country altogether. David Drummond, Google's senior vice president of corporate development, reported that a primary goal of the attackers was accessing the Gmail accounts of Chinese human rights activists, but that the attack also targeted 20 other large companies in the finance, technology, media and chemical sectors. It was later reported that the attack had also targeted one of Google's crown jewels, a password system that controls access by millions of users worldwide. In late March 2010, it officially discontinued its China-based search engine while keeping its uncensored Hong Kong site in operation. Speaking for Google, Brin stated during an interview, "One of the reasons I am glad we are making this move in China is that the China situation was really emboldening other countries to try and implement their own firewalls." During another interview with Der Spiegel, he added, "For us it has always been a discussion about how we can best fight for openness on the Internet. We believe that this is the best thing that we can do for preserving the principles of the openness and freedom of information on the Internet." Senator Byron Dorgan stated that Google's decision is a strong step in favor of freedom of expression and information, and Congressman Bob Goodlatte said, "I applaud Google for its courageous step to stop censoring search results on Google.cn. Google has drawn a line in the sand and is shining a light on the very dark area of individual liberty restrictions in China. From the business perspective, many recognize that the move is likely to affect Google's profits." The New Republic adds that Google seems to have arrived at the same link that was obvious to Andrei Sakharov, the one between science and freedom, referring to the move as heroism. Personal life. In May 2007, Brin married biotech analyst and entrepreneur Andrei in the Bahamas. They had a son together in December 2008 and a daughter in late 2011. In August 2013, it was announced Brin and his then-wife were living separately. In June 2015, Brin and Wojcicki finalized their divorce. Brin's mother, Eugenia, has been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. In 2008, he decided to make a donation to the University of Maryland School of Medicine, where his mother is being treated. Brin used the services of 23andMe and discovered that although Parkinson's is generally not hereditary, both he and his mother possess a mutation of the LRRK2 gene that puts the likelihood of him developing Parkinson's in later years between 20 and 80%. An editorial in The Economist magazine states that Mr. Brin regards his mutation of LRRK2 as a bug in his personal code, and thus is no different from the bugs in computer code that Google's engineers fix every day. By helping himself, he can therefore help others as well. He considers himself lucky. But Mr. Brin was making a much bigger point. Isn't knowledge always good, and certainly always better than ignorance? Brin and his ex-wife also run the Brin-Wojcicki Foundation. Awards and accolades. 2002 to 2009. In 2002, Brin, along with Larry Page, was named to the MIT Technology Review TR100 as one of the top 100 innovators in the world under the age of 35. In 2003, Both Brin and Page received an honorary MBA from IE Business School for embodying the entrepreneurial spirit and lending momentum to the creation of new businesses. In 2004, they received the Marconi Foundation Prize, the highest award in engineering, and were elected Fellows of the Marconi Foundation at Columbia University. In announcing their selection, John J. Iselin, the foundation's president, congratulated the two men for their invention that has fundamentally changed the way information is retrieved today. In 2003, Brin and Page were both award recipients and national finalists for the A Entrepreneur of the Year award in 2004. Brin received the Academy of Achievement's Golden Plate Award with Larry Page at a ceremony in Chicago, Illinois. 2009 present in November 2009, Forbes decided Brin and Page were the fifth most powerful people in the world. Earlier that same year, in February, Brin was inducted into the National Academy of Engineering, which is among the highest professional distinctions accorded to an engineer, and honors those who have made outstanding contributions to engineering research practice. He was selected specifically for leadership in development of rapid indexing and retrieval of relevant information from the World Wide Web. In their profiles of fellows, the National Science Foundation included a number of earlier awards. He was a featured speaker at the World Economic Forum and the Technology, Entertainment and Design Conference. PC Magazine has praised Google in the top 100 websites and search engines and awarded Google the Technical Excellence Award for innovation in web application development in 1999. In 2000, Google earned a Webby Award, a People's Voice Award for technical achievement, and in 2001, was awarded Outstanding Search Service, Best Image Search Engine, Best Design, Most Webmaster-Friendly Search Engine, and Best Search Feature at the Search Engine Watch Awards. According to Forbes, he is the 20th richest person in the world with a personal wealth of $30 billion as of June 2014. Filmography.